Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Matt, Christy, Alonso. Nothing like an appropriate title. Downhill.
It does really say it all, doesn't it?
The new comedy from Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus and writers-directors Jim Rash and Nat Faxon. A remake of 2014's Force Majeure that one wonders why they needed to remake. Who wants to
You go.
Okay, fine.
Because I need to go check on Sabrina. She's wandering around. I
don't
trust her.
Okay, fine. All right, so Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus play a married couple. They and their two children are on a deluxe alpine skiing vacation in Austria. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of place where they do controlled avalanches to sort of make sure that not too much snow, piles up on the top of the mountains. One of those controlled avalanches comes right at a deck where the four of them are having a meal, and while Julia Louis-Dreyfus instinctively shelters her children, Will Ferrell grabs his phone and runs. And
listen, phones are expensive.
And then doesn't really cop to what happened, and so there's this ongoing discussion about getting him to admit it and sort of revealing what this incident says about their relationship and their marriage in general.
Yeah, so basically they take Force Majeure, which was excellent.
Yes.
And they drain it of everything that made it interesting. They drained it of all of the what's
awkward
challenging.
silences.
Right. So what happens with it, if you guys, and I know Matt has not seen Force Majeure, which I said maybe it's a good thing that you haven't, because then we have a control group.
There you go.
Yeah, this movie's still not very good.
Right. So what is interesting about Force Majeure is this quiet, excruciating crucible in which the worst of human nature is ultimately exposed, right?
Yes.
Because the longer that they don't talk about this, the more awkward it becomes. Everybody is forced to reassess the people that they thought they knew. I mean, specifically, they're all forced to reassess the husband and father that they thought they could rely on for so long,
right?
Who just bails on them. What they do with Downhill is, instead of the silences, they cram in all kinds of wacky, jokey physical comedy and gags, and they overly...
Wait, there were physical gags in this?
I mean... Kinda, involving people falling, or Julia Louis-Dreyfus throwing all the ski poles down. Anyway,
that's actually the one scene I liked, but we'll get back to that.
So, and also everybody overly explains themselves,
yes.
which you don't have in Force Majeure, which makes it really interesting. It allows us to insert our own thoughts and feelings and wonder, what would I do in that situation? And this is it's what so many American English language remakes do. It's they just don't trust either the material or the audience, and they feel like they have to keep things going and keep things jam-packed and just talky, and it's wrong.
If you ever wanted an example of what art house European films do that American movies can't or won't do, look at Force Majeure and Downhill side by side. This is almost this sort of object example of here's a European film that is okay with the silences, that trusts the audience to pick up on other cues, and here's a movie that has to feed you everything because we don't think you're really paying attention, and it's
or you're not up to the challenge,
or you're not smart enough, it's exasperating because Rash and Faxon, I'm big fans. They co-wrote The Descendants, they did The Way Back, which I thought was really charming. They are funny actors. I've seen them at the Groundlings back in the day. This movie is just so clearly not relying on the audience to pick up on stuff. The moment I did though is there's a scene where they're supposed to go on this helicopter to do some kind of ski thing.
Skiing.
Mm-hmm. And it's they're trying to take off, and there's a kid's missing a glove, and everybody's having this meltdown, and Will Ferrell's trying to get them all to, on, and he's as always trying to pretend that nothing has happened, and of course she's freaking out, and it was such a recognizable moment of a stressed family on vacation that at least and that was the one addition to the old movie that felt like somebody had thought it through. But otherwise, the original is so smart in the way that, the premise itself is you have this test that you have failed, and then how do you deal with it, and how do the people that you have failed deal with it? And Force Majeure, by the way, is streaming on Hulu and on Canopy, so you can watch it right now.
And you should.
Instead of this.
So Matt, you had not seen Force Majeure.
I had not seen this. This movie is not funny. Well, there's a couple scenes. There's a couple scenes that work, right? Like that scene you're talking about, the scene where they go and complain to the safety group, and you've got Christopher Hivju, who was Tormund Giantsbane in Game of Thrones, as the head safety guy, and he's so good at that kind of fiery look, and he's so stoic, and he looks so fierce. And they're like, it was a problem. And he just looks at me, he's like, no, it was perfect. and there's hints of that silence and the way that they kind of react, because there's these pauses like, no. And I liked that part a whole lot. That was a good bit. And Miranda Otto is really fun in this.
She is, but she feels like it's a totally different movie. Like her wacky movie is different from what this material
Yeah,
is.
it's her scenes are all from this more, it's almost from like a new version of European Vacation.
Right. Or like a body 80s sex comedy.
Right. Like kind of like she comes in and is this, like, oh, what you think European sexual mores might be like in, someplace like Austria. Yeah.
We don't wear swimsuit in the summer.
Right, exactly. We love we celebrate our bodies. You celebrate yours? You do, right? Yes. Say yes. Look, I've seen worse movies. I've absolutely seen worse movies. This is not incompetently made, but I haven't seen Force Majeure. It's just like, this is the kind of movie like, yeah, if it's the only thing playing on the plane, okay.
I think I'd read or sleep.
I mean,
it's shot well. I mean, but again, it's shot very similarly to the way that Force Majeure was shot, but like it gives everything this sort of like, it all looks like the video that happens when you turn the TV on, when you're in a hotel, and they show you all the deluxe accommodations. Like there's a sheen to it of like, come to our beautiful resort, and then like all this awful human drama is unfolding, within that. But again, it doesn't really go anywhere that the original doesn't do better.
Some of the camera work I found kind of like off-putting and kind of confusing as far as the choice of it. Like there's a scene where Julia Louis-Dreyfus finally goes off. It's this really awkward moment because it's in front of a bunch of people, and the camera's like down below her. And I don't know whether it's because she's petite and they want to make her look bigger. There's some weird choices like that over and over again. It just felt kind of off. Like, you're watching a movie, it sort of feels off in your bones somehow.
Yeah, and there's another scene like that where the friends are over, like the work friend and his
Zach Woods
and his girlfriend have come by, and it's that foreshot of him, and it's in a really weird, almost like anamorphic, making Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus look distorted, and yet not in a way that's effective, that's germane to the story that they're trying to tell. It's just, it's kind of weird choices.
Yeah, and then also, fundamentally, Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Will Ferrell have zero chemistry with each other, either in the comedic or the dramatic moments. It's very strange. I don't know whether it's like the material is just not there. Do they have just vastly different styles? Like he's not up for the dramatic chops here.
And I can see the logic in casting them, because she is called upon to have this sort of like coiled, unspoken rage and like irritation, and he is called upon to be like a blowhard who can't admit that he made a mistake. So like discreetly, yes, they're the ones you cast, but you're right. Together, they don't really play off each other particularly well.
I would say in the hands of directors that were more focused on the tension and the awkwardness, them having no chemistry, even comedic chemistry, could serve this movie really well, right? Like
if the material were better, you mean?
If the material and kind of the way it was presented was much more effective, because then, early on you could use that to start questioning, Jesus, why are these two even married? Because we all know couples like that, right? We all know people like, man, what?
But yeah, the movie won't commit to the squirminess of it,
right?
Which is where the comedy should be coming from.
And there's an interesting interlude where she decides to take a solo ski day, which is not in the original film. And interesting things kind of happen, and I kind of like the daring that it comes to the edge of exploring, as far as her asserting her individuality and like questioning her own marriage and all that. And then that whole bit ends on a wacky bit of physical humor.
Right. And I felt
so
like
it's like again, they come to the edge of like something really interesting, and then they pull back for something safer.
And I wonder how much, I'm curious to see how much she may have added that scene because it felt in line with what she was doing on Veep and that style of like, oh, this person is capable of being awful and could be if she wanted to. And it felt a little like, oh, it felt like it was almost really bold.
Yeah,
And
like,
then-
Almost.
they flirt with the idea of giving her more agency, but like movies like this, you can never ever like violate the sacred bonds of marriage without like immediately being villainized. Even in a scenario like this where you have a marriage that is fraught with difficulty and problems, and it's just like, yeah, you're right. It's very half-assed.
Anyway, I'm saying 3.7. This was a bummer.
I said 5.5, which I sadly stuck with it from Metacritic, but I'm feeling now that was too generous. But yeah,
I give it a 5.
You said 4.
Oh, did I say? No, I went up. I told you I went up, didn't I? Yeah.
I guess. All right.
I went up to 5.
So now you're 5.
You're what?
I'm a 3.7.
So add 0.3.
It's a 4.8.
4.8 is our number. I don't know where it is. We're not doing the tomato meter today. I just didn't think to look it up, so I'm not.
You're online.
cares?
Find it
Right?
yourself.
Who
right.
cares?
Anyway, I don't think
you
it's
can't use
it's
a
not
number to justify the quality of movies.
We would never do that here. Anyway, it's not very good. But it's one of your Valentine's romance comedies
There you
this
go.
week.
Seriously.
Allegedly a comedy.
Hulu, Canopy with a K, which in many places is free with a library card. You should check it out if you haven't already. They have an amazing...
Spelling America with a K, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
They have an amazing lineup of movies, including Force Majeure, which you should watch instead. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have friends who are What the Flick fans and don't know this exists, please point them our way. You can follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're currently talking about HBO's The Outsider and McMillions, and lots of other fun stuff that is exclusive to our members. So do check that out. Thanks for watching. Bye.